Today we're going to test out $5 rifle sights versus $500 rifle sights. So first up, we have some $5 iron sights straight from Amazon. These things are 90% plastic. Definitely do not feel too rugged or durable. We just got a front post here and two apertures back here. We're gonna shoot the smallest one for this accuracy test. And they are canted off to the right because they're made to be in addition to your normal scope. But we're just gonna shoot like this, and I'm gonna hop up, rest on this bag here, and get as stable as I can and see what we can do at 50 yards. Okay, I'm gonna shoot the top left dot. All right, 3-shot group. Let's go down and see what it looks like. All right, so here's our 3-shot group. This is the dot I was aiming at. Let's say that's roughly an inch dot here, and that's probably, I don't know, a 3-inch group. So this is the $5 sight. That's that one, and that one. So it's a great starting point, and honestly a little bit better than I even thought. So now we'll move up to the next scope in line, which was $50, also from Amazon, and we'll see what we can do there. So next up we have the CV Life 2.5 to 10 power by 40, and this came in right at about $50. It feels like a $50 scope. It's packed with features, but they're not the greatest features. It does have a laser, a red and green illuminated reticle. We can go to 5 for red, and there's green, goes all the way up to 5. This laser never did work. We tried different batteries, and we just never could get it to work. Zoom ring feels, not too great. The scope base here is a flathead screwdriver, which is just not the best for tightening it down. Usually you want like a socket head or a Torx bit or something like that with a little bit more grip and rigidity to it, so you can actually torque it down. The caps here are, toolless, and they have the click, but it definitely does not feel the best. And then for your yardage, your turret up here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it is super sloppy and does not feel very repeatable. And like the little bit of testing we did with it, this is not actually accurate, the different yardage marks there. So if we're just going to keep it on 1, we're going to get it sighted in on that bottom target and then shoot the top right dot and see what kind of group we can get. So we got it sighted in here. Now I'm going to shoot that top right dot, and after just looking through it and giving it some clicks, the clarity is not good at all, and your field of view is super limited. It looks dark through the glass. It's, just because I've shot higher end scopes, it's definitely, not the greatest. But for $50, I don't think it's that bad either. So we're gonna shoot 3 shots here and see how tight of a group I can get. All right, I can see them from here. Looks like, I don't know, maybe an inch group or something like that. I think 2 of them are pretty close to touching. For $50, this is not too bad. We've got 2 right there and 1 right there. So this is the $50. That's about a 1-inch group. 2 of them touching. That's really not that bad. And I could see those impacts through the scope up there. So like I said, clarity is not the best by any means, but it's good enough to see those impacts at 50 yards. So now we're gonna bump it up to a $100 scope, and we've shot this scope a decent bit before. It's a Monstrum scope from Amazon, and we were very impressed with the look, the feel, and even the quality of it. So I think we should be able to get a pretty tight group on this one. So this is the Monstrum 1.5 to 6 power scope. This looks like your traditional AR style LPVO. It came with these flip up caps, which are actually kind of nice. The look and feel of it is just night and day different and better than that $50 CV Life. You have your caps here, which feel quite a bit better. The turrets feel way better. I mean, this feels just the same as any, you know, $200 to $300 scope. Sounds really crisp, feels crisp. You know, has all of the engraving here to let you know which way's up, which way's down. It's at 1/2 inch for every click at 100 yards. You do have your illuminated reticle over here. And what's nice about this is it goes from on to off. It goes from, you know, 4 here to then off. 5 off. 6 off, which is super nice. So you don't have to dial all the way back, you know, 360 degrees around to get back to your off position. And just, you know, a little bit less likely for you to drain your batteries on that. And then for clarity, we'll get it mounted up, but it is so much clearer. Lets in so much more light than that scope we just shot. The only thing that I don't love about this is the crosshairs are pretty thick, and the middle crosshair is just, it looks like a plus sign. So there's no crosshairs to the left, right, or up and down of it. And it's just not that fine. So I'm not feeling super confident on how tight of a group we'll get on this, but we will find out. So the way that this base attaches to the pick rail on top is quite a bit better than that $50 scope, in my opinion. Uses these Torx heads, which you can actually get a grip on. You know, it doesn't feel like they're gonna fly off and scratch your gun up, and you can just get it quite a bit tighter than that $50 scope. So I'm still not the biggest fan of these tiny little Torx screws. Like once we get to, you know, the $500 scope, the screws or the bolts here are a little bit more robust, but you know, you're getting what you're paying for, and for $100, I don't think this mounting option is really that bad. So we're gonna fire a few shots to get it close and then shoot a group. All right, so we got it pretty close to sight it in, close enough to shoot a group here on paper. Man, these turrets are very good for the money, especially compared to that cheaper scope we just shot. It tracked insanely well. You know, each click is a 1/2 inch at 100, so a 1/4 inch at 50 yards. And the very first shot, we were 6 inches low and I think 3 inches to the left. So, you know, we gave the appropriate clicks. It tracked perfectly. We were on target on that second shot. So we're gonna shoot a group here and see what it looks like. All right. I'm thinking 2 of them are in the dot, and then 1 might just be a little bit to the left, so you'll see. All right, so we have 2 shots hitting side by side right here in the dot. 1 flyer, you know, I'm sure that was me. So we got 1 here, 1 there, and 1 there, and this was $100. I'm a big fan of this scope. Like if you're on a budget, let's say you just got your first AR, or maybe this is an AR you keep somewhere that you don't shoot regularly, I would highly suggest this scope, and we'll have it linked below. I think for the money, like it's really, really good. And the only thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is the center of that crosshair is not very fine. You know, of course, in like a tactical scenario, you're not going to be super precise, so it's not necessarily needed, but just for this scenario right here, it could be a little bit finer. And I think in this next scope, which is $500, we will see the tightest group yet. All right, so here's the final scope. It is the Swamp Fox Warhorse 1-6 power LPVO, and this thing looks mean. I mean, it looks like a $2,000 scope, but it only comes in at around $500. We got the mount on here as well. Man, like this thing is battle ready. It's heavy, but it just feels super, super, super high quality, and for a very reasonable price. Clarity is by far the best from what we're shooting so far. And then this has a center dot as the reticle, and it's pretty fine as well. So I think I should be able to, hold it in the middle of that dot pretty well. But yeah, this is super solid. Zoom ring feels, way better than the rest. The turrets here, you pull them up to unlock it, and then super tactile response there. It looks sweet. Both of the, the left and right. Oh no, this one actually is not. You have to unscrew this cap for it, but still same feel there for the windage. So we're gonna get this mounted up and get it sighted in first, and then shoot a group and see what it does. As you can probably tell, this is not the most scientific review out there. I'm sitting on my tailgate with the gun rested on my legs, screwing these in. So, I don't know. This is no crazy test here. Just some real world use and kind of just first impressions. All right, got it sighted in. This turret, like I said, feels super smooth. Is very responsive. Got it sighted in 2 shots, just like that previous scope. The look through the scope is very nice, clear, good color, very bright, and just overall the scope looks so sick on the gun. Like I'm a huge fan of the way that it looks. But now we're gonna shoot our 3-shot group and see if we can beat out the $100 scope. All right, 3 shots. None of them are outside of the dot, but I can't really see them from here. They just blend in with that black dot. All right, so here is the group with the $500 scope. We've got 2 that are super close here and 1 just off. So that's probably under an inch group, and this is definitely the tightest group. And as you'd expect, for the more money you pay. Granted, a little bit of this is, of course, on me, the shooter, and I'm laying prone with just a range bag as my rest, which is not the greatest in the world, but gives me a decent enough setup to shoot somewhat accurate. And like I said, on the $100 one, like this could be a flyer. Probably could tighten it up a little bit, but you notice the clarity, you notice the crosshair, the adjustments on the windage and elevation, all more on this $500 scope. So just like anything, you're getting what you're paying for. So if you have the money, would highly recommend this $500 scope. If you're on a budget, or maybe it's your first scope, you cannot go wrong with this $100 one. And then, if you're considering one of these, I would probably save up the money and go for this $100 scope. This one, the laser didn't work. The adjustments are super just cheap feeling. And then this, it's like, if accuracy has anything to do with what you're looking for, wouldn't get that. So you can't really go wrong with either of these, just depending on what your budget allows.